Good morning, viewers. Heading today to a dry cleaning facility. They have a little water chiller that cools a water antifreeze mixture. It sits on the outside of the building. A pump inside the building circulates the water mixture through the heat exchanger on this device, and it cools it by means of a 5-ton Goodman AC unit. The unit is 3-phase, and I got a call yesterday that the compressor wouldn't come on. I stopped by there, and the compressor will actually come on, but it sounds terrible, and it'll eventually lock down and not run any longer. So he checked on possibly getting an entire new unit. He bought this unit used. The condenser sitting on top of it is about 10 years old and probably isn't even the original condenser by looking at it, but he's in business to make money, needs to get this thing up and running. I picked up a compressor yesterday afternoon. It's a ZR 61 Copeland scroll compressor. It has POE oil in it. It's this year's serial number. So we're going to recover the R22 out of this thing. It's got 2 liquid line dryers, one in the heat exchanger unit that sits below the condenser, and then one in the Goodman. So I will cut both of those old dryers out and install one new dryer, and then we will gas it back up using some nice 407C refrigerant and hopefully get them back online. It's raining or drizzling on my windshield right now. I think it's more of a fog cloud situation here, so hopefully by the time I get there it will start burning off and we'll have a good day to do this. This thing's pretty simple. It's just a AC unit that has a water heat exchanger, a coil down here, I guess kind of like a geothermal would have. Transformers out here, runs the So she's got something broke in there. I'm gonna start getting it apart and see what we got in there. Okay, I have no idea how much gas this thing actually holds since it's kind of an unusual setup. So I'm going to weigh what I take out of it. And that'll give me a starting point for putting the 407C back in. 9.35 ounces is what came out, so that'll give us a starting point. Okay, got the old dryers out. Always cut them out. And if you see 2, try to put back only 1. This unit was run tested on May 31st of 2006. The compressor has an 07 serial number, so I guess the first one didn't last long. And since I've cut this dryer out down here, I could take the whole coil off by just either taking once I get it loose over here, or probably even easier would be cut this line here now and set the coil out of my way. I could always swedge it up and put it back together right through this opening. Be a lot easier working conditions. I think I'll do that. Took 3 screws out of the service valve and just brought that pan over to the hose to wash it out. Probably do the same thing to this coil. And apparently they did replace the dryer when they replaced the compressor, because otherwise that pan wouldn't be burnt like that, I would think. Trying out my coil gun. My good friend John Israel sent this to me last winter, and this is the first chance I've got to use it. Okay, going to flush out the different segments, including the condenser coil, using some flush. Okay, I've been purging nitrogen since I started to braze the compressor in. What I did, I had nitrogen flowing out this suction line. I set the compressor up here, pulled the plugs, immediately stuck it onto the suction line, so nitrogen has been coming out, and I'll actually leave the nitrogen flowing until I get everything hooked back up, so to keep this oil away from any atmospheric, absorbing any moisture, hopefully. So I've got the suction line brazed in. I'm going to braze in this discharge line. I've already swedged it up here so I can put it back together when I set the coil back up on top. So I'll get this last connection inside brazed up, and then I'll be setting the coil back on it. So that was the last 2 connections. Still got nitrogen flowing. Got the new dryer down there. So we're going to pressure test, and if she holds, we'll pull a vacuum. It looks like the pressure test is going to hold. We've got 9 minutes, and it hadn't changed. So I started putting the panels back on. I got to thinking about that compressor and wondered if maybe this was a single phase unit and whoever converted it just put a 3-phase compressor in, and that's why it had a different year serial number, but actually this is a 3-phase unit. So it came that way. So I guess the compressor died within the first year. Okay, got the new contactor in and wired up. The vacuum held for 10 minutes, so I just turned the pump back on and took my gauge off. I'm gonna let that pump run while I get my refrigerant ready to go in. Got the eye manifold. I will get the 407 hooked to the eye manifold and bleed the hoses to the very end, and then I will turn off my vacuum pump and start putting the 407C in on the low side in order to break the vacuum. Then I will put my valve core back in and add about 7.5 pounds, 7.5 to 8 pounds of 407C and start it up and see where we are. Okay, I'm going to stop right there at 8 pounds and flip it on and check the pressures. Okay, got the eye manifold connected here. He's turned the water on so it'll be circulating. Got to make sure it's pumping correctly. 3-phase. A 3-phase compressor can turn backwards, so you got to make sure it's actually pumping and not just churning. You can usually tell by the way it sounds. A lot of times it sounds like a box of rocks. How much? 90-degree water right now. Yeah, quieter than the old one. I'd say that old one had been going out for a while. We're running a pretty high superheat. Subcool is only about 3. The sight glass is clearing up, so I'm going to let it run a few more minutes, but I'll be ready to adjust my TXV, bring that superheat down some if needed. Here's what we're cooling off. Some days it makes you glad you're a air conditioning mechanic. Okay, the TXV was mostly open. I went ahead and opened it up the last little bit, but just to see where we were. But I'll probably end up adjusting it back. The set point on this water is 50 degrees. It was 90 when we started it up, the water in the system. It's now currently about 68 and falling. And and as you can see, the superheat's coming down with it. So what I want to let it do is get down close to the 50 degrees and probably set my superheat at that point. Now she's dropping like a rock. 6.1. Looks like the TXV's controlling it though. We're down in the mid-60s. And we're getting down close to where it's going to switch off. It's 52 degrees. Got a subcool of 7.5, superheat of 9.5, and a suction line temperature of 35 degrees coming back. So that TXV is shut off a lot more than it was when I got here, so I don't know if it was ever adjusted right or if somebody lowered the water temperature after the refrigeration circuit was all set up. But I'm going to keep an eye on it here and see how she runs for a little bit. He's got the load in our washing, so it's going to be using some cooling to get rid of that solvent. Good thing this puppy's 3-phase, because it's been off for a little bit and it hadn't bled around, so if it cycles pretty quick, it'll be a big temperature difference or a big pressure difference. She just came back on. We actually raised the set point to 54 degrees, so it came back on. It's got a 5-degree differential. It came back on at 59 degrees. And the superheat's pulling back down. It's going to pull down below 20 here pretty quick probably. He said it's getting a lot colder than it used to, even though the set point was the same. The water was getting colder inside, so I'm going to let this thing settle in and work between its set points and see where the superheat stays. The dry cleaning unit is at its highest heat cycle right now. It's 160 degrees, and this water is going to be cooling it off. So it's got the temperature of the return water over 70 degrees now, and we're holding about 56, 57 degrees on our outlet with a 14-degree superheat and 7-degree subcool. So I'm going to leave her set right there and start buttoning it up. All done. We wound up raising the set point from 50 to 55 degrees because it was doing a lot better job of keeping the water cool when the system was running inside. He called the manufacturer of the indoor equipment and they told him what the inlet and outlet temperature should be, and we got it set up for that. So I guess the old compressor, because it was dragging, had reduced capacity. Of course, we added a little bit of capacity, but still I don't think we added that much. But the system's running like it should. Hopefully lasts another 10 years.